Evening, peeps. I'm actually doing the video tonight for two reasons, really. First, because the internet in Turkey is like pre-1990 dial-up, so it takes about 10 hours to upload a video of about 8 minutes. So that was the first reason, but the second reason is because I have had the worst 24 hours that I've had in probably 3 weeks. And I blow dried my hair today and put some makeup on to go out with my husband for some dinner. And this was my point about doing this post, really, and why I called it the hidden change, because this illness is hidden. So if you would have seen me out with my husband today, apart from the fact that I was quite quiet and I was ill when we had dinner and I had to take a tablet, you would never know what was going on with me. And I think that is half of the issue with the menopause. Everything is internal, so you can't see what is going on, which is half the problem. Now, I wanted to give you an idea of how paranoid I am with my migraines. So this is actually what I brought on holiday with me. So we have 4 full packs of Somatropam. Now, talk about paranoid, because my migraines have been so severe and completely life debilitating. That's the truth, you know. They've stopped me from doing things that I want to do. This is what I was subjected to take on holiday, to make sure that I was satisfied that I would be okay while I was here. Now, I said in my initial post this morning, I went to bed last night and I had a migraine. I didn't take a tablet. I just thought I'll sleep it off, and often I wake up the next day and it's gone. And it was, I was a bit sensitive this morning. But then throughout the day, I just felt considerably worse, really. And by about 2 p.m, I was really bad. And my migraines, my hormonal migraines, are not like what I would deem real migraines. Real migraines, you feel like somebody's hitting you over the head with a hammer. Now, hormonal migraines don't give me that same feeling. So I have numbness in my fingers, which I always have on a real migraine. And the surfer flashing lights, as I call them, because they start out the corner of my eye. Then if I don't take a tablet within probably about 10 minutes, my vision gets completely blurred, which then blurs my speech. If I take a tablet like I did today, within an hour the migraine had gone. But it's not the same as a real migraine, because with that, if you move your head in a certain way, your head feels like it's falling off, even after taking a tablet and actually getting rid of the pain that goes with it. So they're very, very different. But while I was here today, I just wanted to say, really, that that's the issue with what we're dealing with here, is outwardly we look okay. So today, if you saw me having dinner, you would never have believed the kind of day that I had. And that's the problem. So the lady you stood next to in the queue in Asda, she could have had the same kind of day that I've had. Or the lady that served you in the bank, she could be feeling the same way that I'm feeling. And the problem is, this disease is just completely internal. There is nothing to see on the outside, which makes it considerably worse, actually. So that's the reason I decided to do this, and that's the reason why I think we should talk about it. Now, while I'm here tonight, I'm going to talk about my HRT journey. Now, I am not encouraging anyone to take HRT. That is not my place to do that. All I'm going to do is explain to you my journey and what HRT have done for me. As I've said to you previously, and as I've just addressed now, one of my issues with the menopause has been that I've had the electric shock that go through your body. I'm not willing to call them flushes or flashes, because there's just nothing cute about them. A flash is like a flash of lightning that's over in a second. These are not like that. Now, for me, they change my body temperature. So they start with my toes, go through my body. I have the hot sensation in my head and my face, but then it's like a cold cap with an electrical surge on my head, on my scalp. And that's what causes my migraines. I think the change of temperature from hot to cold. My doctor didn't help me with any of this. This was something that I was writing a diary of and taking notice of what was going on. Now, my level of migraine depends on my flushes, and that's the reason that I decided to start taking HRT. Now, I have to be honest and say, my doctor hasn't been particularly helpful, as in they haven't given me any advice. But when I went to see her, I was at my lowest point, actually. And like I said in my initial video, I genuinely thought there was something wrong, seriously wrong. Like I'd had a brain tumor or something. It was quite scary. So when she seen how bad I was, the first thing she said to me was, I think you need to take HRT. And I had about a 10-minute conversation, because that's all they tend to let you have now. And she said, and I asked her, would she take it if she was me? And she said, absolutely. Now, I'd done some research on HRT, and I will put a link to my Facebook page, which is the same name as this, The Hidden Change, with a study that was performed in the States, and I believe it was on 5,000 women. Now, in this study, they tested for breast cancer and cervical cancer, among other things. And to be honest with you, there was not any difference, because the study was so large. It was the largest women's study, I believe, that has ever been done on the menopause. So that kind of gave me a little bit more satisfaction. Now, my other concern was thrombosis, because obviously you hear horror stories of people having thrombosis, and that was probably my main concern. And I have probably been an absolute nuisance to my husband to live with, because the first 6 months probably I was on HRT. If I had a pain, I thought that, that was it was game over. I'm a lot more settled with it now, and unfortunately, one of the other symptoms of the menopause is often you have aching bones for no reason whatsoever. You may wake up in the morning and your joints just hurt. Not all your joints, it's just, again, it's just one of these things that your knees might hurt one day, your elbows might hurt another, your hip might hurt the next. It is just completely and utterly random, and there's no method or madness with it. So that is part of what goes on with the menopause. So when I first started taking HRT, I was hugely concerned that that was happening to me, and I was a bit paranoid with that. I'm kind of settled a bit now. Now, the first HRT the doctor gave me was something called a Less Duo. Now, this was a pill that was 16 days of estrogen and 12 days of progesterone. Now, I found on the estrogen, by the time I got to about day 12, I was a blubbering wreck. And once I started taking the estrogen, by sort of day maybe 7 of the estrogen, I could feel myself getting quite angry. But the pros of that were, after about 4 months, they started reducing the flushes, which started reducing the migraines, which gave me a better quality of life. So for me, it was genuinely worth me taking. Now, I took these for 6 months. It took about 4 months to get in my system, and every 3 months I have to go to the doctor to have my blood pressure checked, etc. Now, they stopped manufacturing them. So the doctor just gave me, there was a list. She opened a doctor's medical book, and there was a list of alternatives. They were Femiston, I think it was, and I can't tell you, I have never been so ill in my life. From the first day of taking them, I started having 2 to 4 migraines a day. On my worst day, I had 6 migraines in a day, and again, all down to the electric shocks to myself. As I was having these electric shock flashes, they would bring on the migraines, and I was in this catch-22. After about 2.5 weeks, I was an absolute quivering nervous wreck. I rang my surgery, hysterical, absolutely hysterical, on a Monday morning after having the most worst weekends, where I think I'd had about 28 migraines over 4 days. It was just obscene. And the receptionist actually didn't quite know what to do with me. I didn't even speak to the doctor, which sounds bizarre. But the doctor said for me to stop taking them, she would look for a replacement. Now, I found my own replacement. I did a Facebook post and asked my friends who were currently on the menopause where they were taking, and a number of them come forward, and they were all taking Cleovance. Some of them are taking 2 milligram. I am taking 1 milligram because obviously I didn't want to go in and start taking a new drug without really knowing how it was going to affect my body. It was just, that was foolish in every way. So I changed to Cleovance. I've been on it now. I've done 1 full month and I've got about a week left now of my second month. Now I've only started noticing the difference the last sort of 2 weeks because they've just about got in my system again. But like I said in my earlier post, I hadn't had a migraine for 10 days, which was just absolutely amazing for me. And even though I've had 2 migraines now, or 2 days of migraines, compared to where I was, I am remarkably better. And I am aware that the Cleovance is really not in my system properly yet. So I've still got some time before that makes another bit of a difference. And I've got, another month before I go to the doctors, and they take my blood pressure and just make sure everything's okay before they prescribe me another 3 months. So the doctors are particularly on it and checking your health as they do this. So that makes me feel considerably better, even though I just think doctors really haven't got time at the moment to really sit and discuss things with us. She basically told me just to get on with it, which is very easy to do when you're spending your life in bed considerably ill. Now, like I said, I'm not recommending anybody take HRT. Everybody's journey is going to be different to mine. But what I will say is they have helped me. And even though I had that blip in the middle with the changeover, which made me really bad, outside of that, I have noticed a difference. I know myself, not by a long shot, but I'm considerably better than where I was. And what I will say is that there's a lot of research out there for HRT. So have a look. I will do a link to this trial, so you can have a read if you want to. But for me, the pros of how I feel outweighed the cons of the negatives with HRT. So it was my choice to kind of take that, and I stand by that, and I will continue to do that. And for myself, I would recommend them for that reason. I hope this have helped you a little bit, because I've had a lot of messages from women just asking me about the HRT and how I decided, and I just hope this have helped you. Have a lovely evening.